we've dealt with everything now, but there's a member who came in after.
Brief.
No, I understand that. I just want to get it right. I don't want to open up something that we already finished, but I recognise where you're from.
So do I.
So does the Minister, and that's fair enough. I just want to get that right.
Okay. Yeah, no, Gorma go to hear no, bhí méid feic there an telefís, so chula mé Minister, agus the Fragger Riv. Minister, look, we've been very, I won't detain you because my party spokesperson, Robert Troy, and indeed Kevin O'Keefe have detailed some of the issues that we have, and as you will know, and your department officials will know, is that for a long number of years, I and my party have actually supported the development of the airport, and indeed have supported the second parallel runway. So there is not an issue there. So we're not coming in on the basis of saying that this should not happen. I come here just to ask you a couple of very quick questions. We did have a briefing with officials about a number of months ago in relation to the legislation, and I'm concerned about your time frame. Just that it is a very, very tight time frame that you've outlined here today. That you will bring first stage of the bill to the Dáil on the 7th of November, and you're actually saying that you would have enactment of the bill, that it will pass Dáil and Shannon and be signed by the President, whoever that may be, on the 31st of December 2018. So you're looking at, like, it's from the 7th of November to the 31st of December for a very detailed piece of legislation like this. I think that time frame is really, really tight. Are you confident you'll meet it? Because we haven't met any of the time frames up to now. The other thing that does assume as well, I have relayed, and I do want to put on the record of the committee, and I thank the Chairman for his indulgence. I'm not a member of this committee, and I do appreciate him letting me in briefly, is that still our grave disappointment that the IAA are not the competent authority. I don't accept the advice that you've been given, that we would not have been able to create Chinese walls within the IAA to be able to be the regulator. They should be the competent authority because they have the competence to do the job. They have the staff to do the job. They have the salary structure to enable people to be hired to do the job. I have a concern, and I have a lot of regard for Fingal County Council. I know some of your own officials will know Fingal very well, a very progressive local authority. I have major concerns that they will not be resourced properly, that they don't have the expertise to carry out this job, which is a very serious role to be undertaken, because residents in the area, and by the way, I will live under the flight path of the new parallel runway, and I accept that. But I think we want to make sure that residents' views are taken into account and residents' concerns are taken into account, and that the regulator there is independent. Fingal County Council, 22% of its rates are collected on the Dublin Airport campus. It's true. What did you say?
8%.
Well, 8. If you go out from 8, I don't know where you got that figure. Because yeah, well, I'd ask the Minister to check the figure, because if you look at ancillary businesses, it's actually.
But that's from the GAA.
Yeah. So I think that I have no doubt that you're way understating it. But leaving that aside, that we may be able to accept the fact that officials within Fingal are going to adjudicate on the two planning conditions in particular. I just think for residents that are there, it's going to be very difficult for residents and for me to actually say, well, this is an independent authority that is overseeing conditions that were imposed on by the board that they didn't impose themselves. People won't accept that, Minister, and you've met residents, and we want buy-in from people. And you've met those groups. You were good enough to meet them last year with me and with other colleagues, and you heard the concerns. They weren't people who were saying, we don't want a second runway, we don't want the airport to develop. They just said they want the airport to be a good neighbour. So, you know, I really think that we're being sold a pig in a poke, and I would wonder, are Fingal then going to be the noise regulator for Shannon and for Cork? No. You know, so we're going to have a different regime on an island here with the population of Manchester. We're going to have 2 different or 3 different regulators, and to me, really, that doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And I think even at this stage, because you've set up, or the Taoiseach has set up this cross-departmental group, I'm still at a loss to see exactly how that would work. Who's going to lead it? Is it the Taoiseach? Is it you? There's no way you're going to meet the time frame of the end of December. Now, we look at the airport there, and on campus, You've over 17,000 direct jobs. You've tens of thousands of indirect jobs. You've a lot of local people there. We recognise the 4% of growth of GMP is generated in the airport. We're very proud of our airport and the work that's done there. But I really think your stewardship of this, Minister, and the Department's stewardship of the development of the second runway and getting buy-in from the local community to that, leaves a lot to be desired. I don't mean that in a person. It really, really does. We brought people along with this process. I've been dealing with this since 2004, since I was elected to the council, and now people are really concerned about the ham-fisted manner in which this is being dealt with. One, that it's going to put jobs at risk in the airport and future development of the airport, and two, that we're not actually going to get an independent regulator at all. So, look, Chairman, I know you've been here all morning, and I don't want to come in. I have come in at the very end because I was at other meetings. But I think that you're not going to meet the time frames that are outlined here, and it's fantasy to say that you are. And we're putting at risk the jobs in the airport and the potential of the airport, and indeed we're putting at risk the communities adjacent to the airport who have bought into the fact that we know the airport needs to develop. And this is, I don't understand where we could get this cross-departmental group foisted upon you, and a time frame that says you're going to publish a bill on the 7th of November and it's going to pass both houses and be signed by the President by the 31st of December. I think that's fantasy.
Okay, I think a lot of those arguments, and thank you for articulating your views, were answered earlier during. I
apologise if they were, and I'll go back on the transcript, Chairman.
That's fine. I just want you to know that. So I'm sure the Minister would like to respond there in kind.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to thank Deputy O'Brien for coming in, coming to the committee. That most of them weren't questions; they were his views, and that's fair enough. He wants to come in here and give his views. I think they're very, very useful, and I bear in mind the constituency he represents, which is an honourable position for him to be taking, and that's what he should do. That's fine. I don't share the views, of course, but that's neither here nor there. But I have, as he knows, met many delegations of residents and taken their views into account and relayed them on to the DA and the other appropriate people and institutions, and will continue to do so if he feels that that's useful, because this is about a balanced determination which has to take into account the overall national interest and the interests of his constituents, and that is what is going to be done. And it is, contrary to what he says, it is going to be independent. I have absolutely no doubt whatsoever of that. I know he's got a high regard for Fingal, so have I. The issue of staff at Fingal, which he raised, this has been covered actually several times already when he wasn't here. But
if it has, I apologise. I'll go back on the transcript.
I'm just telling you that because for the others. Staff will have to be recruited at Fingal. Of course they will, because the necessary expertise isn't all there. But that would have had to happen if it's the IAA as well. They didn't have it. There was nobody in Ireland sitting there waiting for this particularly specialist call on noise regulation. There isn't such a body in existence anywhere. Of course you have to recruit people to do it, and they will be recruited for Fingal, but they would also have to be recruited for the IAA.
Would have fit better with the Aviation Authority rather than a local authority.
The figure on 8% of Fingal, well, you say it's 22.
It is.
Well, okay, you can say it's 22. These figures were provided to me by Fingal. If you doubt them, that's absolutely up to you. Shannon and Cork know under EU regulation, under this directive regulation, they don't have to be regulated by this noise operator at all, because they don't have, I think it's 50,000 units, 50,000 movements, I think it is, that needs it. And Dublin is the only airport in Ireland which comes under that category. Sure, I accept your reservations about the timetable. This timetable was passed by the Cabinet last week and accepted and approved by the Cabinet last week. It is a tight one. You're absolutely right, but we're determined to keep it, and I hope we'll have the support of the opposition for getting it through quickly. I accept it's first of all, it's extremely urgent. It's very vital, but we expect that the opposition will recognise the importance of this and the urgency of it and
We already
cooperate.
said both the members here are fully behind
I know.
pushing
Correct.
this.
I was
They
never,
are,
I was never populist in my constituency about this, Minister. When I stood at elections, when other people were out campaigning against a second parallel runway, I was supportive of it and have remained the same. And I am. I just want to be clear on that. So,
Yeah, sure. No, you've been very responsible about it, and I've no doubt about that at all. And